So you paid a huge amount of debt yourself. I would love to know, like, how did you make that happen?
Yeah, sure. So that was back again in 2015. So I put together a plan, a new budget, where essentially I slashed almost every single expense that I had, with a very heavy focus on fixed expenses. You'll often hear like financial professionals tell you that you should cut your non essentials, like
Hmm.
going out for dinner with friends, those small coffees that you pick
Lattes.
up. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's the classic cliche. This is what you need to do, and then you'll be able to afford to buy a house. I realized very quickly that it was actually more beneficial for me to find ways to reduce my fixed expenses because those are the expenses that weren't going to change every single month. So things like my rent and my phone bill and electricity or things like that. And so what I did for those is I actually called to negotiate a lower cell phone bill, lower interest rates on my credit cards because I wanted to be able to make higher payments without just getting by and just making the minimum payments, which a lot of people don't realize they can do, but you can negotiate your interest rates on your credit cards. You can call your phone company and be like, hey, is there anything you can do to help me get my phone bill down $10, $20 every single month? And I cut my rent in half by living with
Wow.
six other people. But it was a sacrifice I was willing to make to get ahead financially. And so by doing that, I was actually able to put more than 40% of my income towards repaying my debt and pay it all off in less than a year. And so there was a ton of sacrifice, which is why I left my debt repayment with such a big scarcity mindset. But that frugality was what kind of catapulted my financial success and the ability to build wealth.
Wow, that is amazing. Just the fact that you were able to pay so much debt. How much was it again, if you don't mind sharing?
It was just under $20,000.
That is a lot because when it comes to even saving $3,000, not just for debt repayment, but just like saving it for the future, it is so hard to do that. And from other financial stuff and things that I've read, people advise that you need to save 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in your emergency fund, or as I like to call it, opportunity fund or something, because I just don't like the sound of the emergency fund. So, is there any advice that you can give us to like save that much money? Because saving like 10K or 20K sounds very overwhelming if you think about it.
Yeah. First of all, I love Opportunity Fund. That's such a great shift. I think that's a wonderful thing to call it. I am a huge advocate for emergency funds. And although 3 to 6 months is what the experts recommend, again, I have different mindset around many things in finance because I feel like it is very traditional. And so I do think it really depends on your lifestyle and what you need. So if you are a homeowner and you have dependents and you have a vehicle, you're going to need a lot more money than someone who is a renter, who doesn't have children, and who maybe doesn't own a vehicle. So there's a lot of different variables at play when it comes to how much you actually need in your emergency fund. So when you say like $10, $20,000, even $3,000, it can be overwhelming. So you need to first actually get a clear picture of what your expenses look like and not your like stretched beyond your means expenses, your bare bones. This is what I would need to survive, is what you want to put in your emergency fund. You don't need any flair when you're going through an emergency, so you don't need to save
Mm-hmm.
more than what you'll need to spend. And so when you finally know that number, start small. It's the most important thing is that you have some sort of security. That should be your first financial goal when you're getting started with your money is giving yourself stability and security. And that is an emergency fund or an opportunity fund as you call it. So, when I started to build mine, I was putting $20 a week into a high interest savings account or a high yield savings account, and that was enough for me to get started. It was something. And I still to this day have that $20 transfer every single week that goes into my emergency fund because it's something that constantly needs to be replenished. This is money you will be spending. It's inevitable that we're going to face some sort of financial emergency in our life. And so it doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming number. You can start with $1,000 as your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Get to $1,000, see how that feels, and if you feel like you need more, then you just continue to go down that path. Most everything in money is going to be time consuming. You have to be patient. It's never something you can accomplish quickly, but it's the end goal that makes you feel so great and so successful. And that's also why I think it's so important we talk about money, and it shouldn't be taboo, because we want to be able to celebrate things like that. Like, you saved $1,000 for your emergencies. That is a huge win, and it deserves to be celebrated.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Go Girl podcast. For more such inspiring conversations, do not forget to subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram at @JapnetAhuja. Until next time, keep being unstoppable. You go, girl.